Hello everyone, this is France and this one is Czech Republic. Both of them are European countries, both of them are member of NATO, both of them are member of European Union. Today in this topic we will going to talk about the both of these countries. In the recent days, Europe takes the center stage of our discussion because Europe has become a geopolitical hotspot for the world. And we have been discussing Europe since February 24, the day Russia started their special military operation against Ukraine. When the Russia started their special military operation, the Western countries, especially the United States and the United Kingdom, took the critical stand against Russia, especially against the Russian gas, Russian oil and the Russian fertilizer. These Western countries put Russia in gutter by sanctioning Russian goods, by kicking them out of the global payment system SWIFT. They thought they were going to kill the Russian attack on Ukraine by killing the Russian economy. But it boomeranged. Their sanction on the Russian energy and the Russian gas crippled the European energy supply. It crippled the European energy infrastructure. It also crippled the European agricultural environment because there is no fertilizer in European market. Because Europe dependence on the Russian gas is almost 45%. For Germany, the figure is more scary. The Germany dependence on the Russian gas and the Russian oil is almost 55%. So if Germany will going to shut the Russian gas tap, then their economy will going to die like a termite. It won't be heroic, And the winter is coming. If the Europe will going to shut the Russian gas, then the whole Europe will freeze to death. Anyway, I am here to talk about the protest that have broke out in France, Czech Republic and also in Germany. I have also made a dedicated video on the massive European protest. If you want to take a look, please go and check it out. Now let's start with the Czech Republic. Speaking of Czech Republic, it is a very beautiful landlocked country in the Central Europe, historically known as Bohemia. It shares the border with Austria in south, Germany to the west, Poland to the northeast, and Slovakia to the southeast. But this country's economy is crashing down like a house of cards due to the excessive inflation that is killing the whole Europe. If you look at the Czech Republic, it is heavily depends on the Russian gas and the Russian coal and the Russian oil. And they cannot import enough Russian gas and the coal because of the European Union's embargo on the Russian energy. Because of that, their energy prices are getting higher and higher. As their energy prices are getting higher and higher, their cost of living is also rising. The Czech Republicans' cost of living has gone up 17% within a period of last 2 months. Energy bill also included within the cost of living. At the end of August, the price of electricity was around $580 per megawatt hour in Republic, while it was just over $170 per megawatt hour in Spain. Their electricity bill has been up by 33.6% in comparison of the same month last year. The gas price is 59.8% pricier. Solid fuel price has been increased by 41.1% in comparison of last year. The price of fuel, all kinds of fuel, meanwhile went up by 43.6% compared to 2021. The cost of electricity in Czech Republic is highest among the all European nations. This data is according to the Household Energy Price Index of Europe. The Czechs are getting homeless. They are living in a social housing and the cultural homes. The hardship has become the everyday routine for the Czech Republicans. Now the protesters are blaming NATO and the European Union for their dilapidated life. The Czech Republic witnessing exponential rising of poverty because the peoples are losing their job. The job market is shrinking every day due to the lack of restricted opportunities. Because of that, the Czechs are turning to the right-wing party, that is Freedom and the Direct Democracy Party, or the SPD. And the party is being led by the Tomio Okamura. His party holds 20 seats in Chamber of Deputies. And the reason behind his undercurrent is Tomio Okamura is actively campaigning for the gas and the oil negotiation with Moscow. He is partially defending the Russia's actions. Basically, he is trying to save the Czech Republicans from the harsh winter. The right-wing tide has become a commonplace event in today's time, at least for the Europe. Recently, the Italy elected far-right Giorgia Meloni as Italian Prime Minister. In the French, the opposition party leader led by the Maria Le Pen recently won 41.6% vote in recent poll. Emmanuel Macron lost his majority in parliament. Yesterday, the right-wing conservative won the Swedish parliamentary elections and elected Ulf Kristersson as their new prime minister. So things are really taking abrupt turn for the European nations, and the France is not exceptional in this case. Their country has not been spared by the acute inflation. The French populations are on the road because the same problems are biting the French peoples, the inflation, the cost of living, and the rent and the house price is rising. Their rent and the house price is rising, but their salaries are stagnant. They are not getting gas from the gas station because the country is out of gas and oil. The main reason behind the gas scarcity is the refinery strike. 3 weeks into the refinery strike, that has caused the fuel shortages across the country. Tens of thousands of protesters marched in Paris on Sunday, adding to the growing picture of defiance and the anger about the inflation. On 2021, the French inflation was barely 1.64%, but recent data released by the French government showed the stunning rise after it reached 5.6% in September 2022, although it has come down from 5.9% in the prior year month. In case of Czech Republic, we are seeing the rise of right-wing politicians, but in case of France, it is left-wing. Because the demonstration against the cost of living was called by the left-wing political opposition and led by the French Unbowed Party. Acronym of this party is LFI and led by the leader Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Some of the protesters even wore the yellow fluorescent vest. The vest is the symbol of the anti-government protest which shook the pro-business government of the President Emmanuel Macron in 2018. The opponents of the Emmanuel Macron are hoping to build a momentum created by the refinery standoff which began at the end of the September. Tomorrow, several French unions have announced a national day strike against the rising cost of living and the alleged government inaction against the climate change. You know, the climate change activists are hurting the country's interest more than they are saving it. They are damaging the society more than they are mending it in this tough time. Anyway, the organizer claimed 140,000 people attended Sunday's march against the police predictions of merely 30,000. Maybe tomorrow more people will come out against the government because the situation is very delicate in Europe in this tightly contested time frame. 4 of the France's 7 refineries all belong to the Paris-based energy group Total Energies remained blocked on Sunday. The French company announced on Friday that they had reached a pay deal with the 2 largest union staffs of its refineries, raising the hopes of an end of the standoff. But the hardline CGT union refused to accept it. This is making the environment more hostile and the more fragile for the French societies. Although there are some relief for the French government, the staff at the 2 other refineries owned by the US group Esso ExxonMobil returned to the work at the end of the last week. But the normalization will going to take some time, at least 2 weeks. About 1/3 of the petrol stations across the country have the supply problems. That means the drivers are often waiting hours to refuel. Many companies have cut back on the travels and the deliveries, while even the emergency services vehicles face the shortages. And we are witnessing very delicate situation in France. Also, France is witnessing rise of green, socialist and communist. And the Sunday's protest was supported by the French Nobel laureate Annie Ernaux, who won the Nobel Prize this year in literature. These peoples are all blaming the President Emmanuel Macron. They are blaming the president for this chaos. The Macron's government is also facing the heat in the parliament. His government is in defensive mode in the parliament where it lost its majority in legislative election in June. As Emmanuel Macron's government do not have the majority in the legislative assembly, because of that he is facing difficulties in implementing his domestic agenda. And it is getting harder for the government during the budget discussion because the opposition is very strong and very powerful. And they are not supporting all the budgetary formulations for the next year proposed by the government. So Europe will not going to get the relief from this painful livelihood until they will going to revoke some of their restrictions against the Russia. The hardship is taking the European lives. Their beautiful calm life is falling apart. Recently, the European Foreign Policy Chief used the racial statement against the rest of the world, favoring Europe. He made that statement out of the deep-hearted frustration. According to him, Europe is a garden and the rest of the world is a jungle. Hence, you can see the mindset of the Europeans. Their mindset is full of filth and hate. And the rest of the world wouldn't even understand the European mindset if the Russia wouldn't trigger it. The Europe is in self-immolation mode, only to protect the American interest. They are following the American orders like they are the heart of the ship. The US is fighting an ego battle against the Russia in the name of NATO. They are trying to destroy Russia by using Europe as their pawn. The Europe should grow their senses, whether they should end the Russia-Ukraine conflict or not. And that leads to an important question of the day. And the question is, do you really think American influence set to take over the European supremacy? Is it the end of the Europe and the rise of the new superpower Russia? Now today's question. The first question is, which of the following country recently decided to introduce Indian bisons or gaur in their ecosystem? The first option is Nepal, Second option is Sri Lanka. Third option is Bangladesh. Fourth option is Indonesia. The second question is, recently Indian Navy launched an submarine launched ballistic missile from which of the following submarine? The first option is INS Aryant. Second option is INS Chakra. Third option is INS Sindhu Ghosh. Fourth option is INS Chakra 2. So this is the end of the topic. If you have any questions or other kinds of inquiry, then please mail me to my email address, which is tuhin.power.academy@gmail.com. I hope you will going to find my topic informative. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support.